Well, hello everyone. This is going to be a Boro applique project. I definitely used one too many layers of fabric. That was due to a misunderstanding on my part. But you can kind of just work with the fabric and your batting if you like to use batting, which I do. It just feels really nice to sew up against and it holds your stitches really well. So that's where I started with this hoop. And here we go. I do apologize for not recording me tracing this, but I did trace a very simple heart outline onto my fabric before hooping it. I then cut out the pieces that matched each area. I chose something with really heavy outline. And then I would cut it out of the fabric and stitch each one on in blanket stitch to get started. I then worked just doing that same thing and adding piece after piece, stitching over it, adding more stuff. Throwing in a bunch of mending stitches and really any kind of stitch that I felt like. I used silk that I had dyed myself. All of these were fabrics that I had dyed myself with natural fibers. So we'll now take a look at it all finished up. Okay, now we can kind of slow down and look at this. I didn't actually expect any of the Exploring Imperfection series to be at all popular, and so I really didn't chat too much about it as I was going through the process and recorded very short and inefficient videos. What I will first say is I did not need to add this second piece of fabric. I don't know why I thought I did. We'll chalk that up to inexperience because you don't need to do that. I do, however, really like stitching through this organic cotton batting. I really like that. I really like how much it like grips the stitch. It kind of like adds its own natural looseness and spacing to your stitching. So I did like that. I repeated the cutting out the piece of paper to match the fabric and then just kind of fitting the fabric in place. I did not use any glue on any of these edges whilst I was working or after. And weirdly, because I lost the footage, it's been multiple months since I finished this and I still really like it, which is sometimes unusual for me. I mean, I always appreciate the hard work that I've put into something, but I don't always like stand by that decision months later. But I really like the fact that I used all fabrics that I dyed by hand. That is a fire tree or something. It's the neighbor's tree. Whatever the neighbor's tree is, it makes lime green, which is neat. Onto silk. It's a mix of silk and cottons, which I think is kind of fun. It just really, it adds a lot of textural element. And what I was thinking when I initially made this, and it is on fabric that I shibori dyed myself, what I was thinking when I initially made this was that it would make a really cool patch if I was making a kimono jacket or something like that. This would make a really neat patch to put right over your left chest, and you'd look down at it like that. But I had a lot of fun stitching this, and I just went with it, and the edges are not perfect, my stitches are not perfect, but I just had fun like fussy cutting a bunch of little itsy bitsy pieces of fiber that I didn't want to go to waste. It was all like little offcuts and bits and smidgens, and that's kind of the whole vibe of the wabi-sabi life, is just, it hasn't reached its full potential. That doesn't mean hoard and fill your whole house with fabric scraps, but if you're like cutting stuff off and have a hoops that's spare, you should do it. Also, in the first portion of this video that I voiced over, I showed you this with it upside down. This was the dark line that looked like it was still creased on the hoop. But if you choose to do this, again, you do not need the second piece of fabric. I will probably cut off the fabric around the edge and then save these to applique onto something else. It's just unnecessary. It made it a lot harder on my hands than it needed to be. But otherwise, I think it was a really fun project, and it's just been kind of hanging next to my workspace because I never know what to do with anything I finish. And I don't yet want to learn how to sew a kimono. So until I wish to do that, so it shall remain. But I thank you for coming along in this experiment, and I shout out to patron Sarah Parkhurst today. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you enjoy fiber arts or chaos, subscribe to my channel and check out any other videos I have. I would be grateful eternally. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!